Hello and welcome to USDA's 2021 Pride Month observance. My name is Megan Walter. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm the president of Equality USDA, the LGBTQ+ employee resource group here at USDA. I'm proud to work for USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service as an environmental engineer in Portland, Oregon. We are so excited to welcome you all today and have you join us for our fantastic Pride Observance program. We have a whole cast of speakers to bring to you all today and a whole bunch of education to share with you this Pride Month. The theme of our Pride Month here at USDA is progress in action. By living openly and authentically as LGBTQ+ employees, we are progress in action. There was a period of time not that long ago in which you could be investigated, fired, or forced to resign because of your perceived sexual orientation or gender identity. It wasn't safe to be out as a federal employee, not even as an ally. This period of time in the 1950s and 1960s is known as the Lavender Scare. During the Lavender Scare, which was enacted under an executive order by President Eisenhower, thousands of LGBTQ+ identifying federal employees were investigated, fired, or forced to resign from their jobs because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. The Lavender Scare created a lasting fear within the LGBTQ+ community, and this fear perpetuates today. Today, much of the life that I enjoy is made possible by the amazing federal career that I have. From my healthcare, to my retirement benefits, to my flexible schedule and abundant leave, to the very cool work that I get to do every day as an engineer for NRCS, working on stream and wetland restoration and dam safety across the West. This is an amazing job. I love all of these parts about my USDA job. And really, it's more than a job. This is a life, and it's a life well lived. My federal career with USDA has allowed me to build a life that I truly love. And to think that if I had been born a few decades earlier, this life would not have been possible for me. And in fact, it was not possible for thousands of federal employees who were removed from federal service or were fired or forced to resign during the Lavender Scare. This important history is captured on our Pride Month poster this year, along with a few other notable milestones. Here at USDA, we made a big step forward on our journey towards progress in 1993, when Secretary of Agriculture Mike Espy added sexual orientation to USDA's Civil Rights Policy Statement for the first time ever. It's important to acknowledge that Mike Espy was both the first African American and the first person from the Deep South to hold the position of the Secretary of Agriculture. He was an important ally to us at a time when we really needed it. We owe much to the former Secretary Espy and the legacy that he left here at USDA. Since the 1990s, USDA has continued to build on that legacy by creating an LGBTQ+ employee resource group known as USDA Globe, now referred to as Equality USDA, and by creating an LGBTQ+ special emphasis program. We also added gender identity to our non-discrimination protections in 2011, and we hosted LGBTQ+ rural summits starting in 2014 in order to build safe spaces in rural America and broaden the reach of USDA's programs and services. This year, Pride feels just a little bit more special because here at USDA, we're welcoming back one of our strongest allies in Secretary Tom Vilsack. Because it was Secretary Vilsack who signed the LGBTQ+ Special Emphasis Program into creation in 2009 at a USDA Pride observance. It was Secretary Vilsack who added the gender identity non-discrimination protections to his civil rights policy statements and who made the LGBTQ+ rural summits a reality. He helped us step out of the closet and into the light, and we are so grateful. We are very proud to welcome Secretary Vilsack back to USDA and back to this year's USDA Pride observance. During our observance today, you will get to hear from so many amazing speakers, including USDA employees. Special thanks to everybody who made this event possible, including all of the sponsoring agencies and the Observance Planning Committee who worked so hard to make this event happen. And thank you to all of our outstanding speakers. Thank you for sharing your personal stories and experiences with us and for showing us what progress in action looks like here at USDA and out in our communities across America. It is now my pleasure and my honor to introduce Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack and Deputy Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights Monica Range. Happy Pride, y'all.
Hi, it's Secretary Tom Vilsack. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm honored to be part of USDA's 2021 Pride observance. As many of you know, the origins of the Pride date back to a police raid in 1969, New York City's Stonewall Inn. This monumental uprising solidified the LGBTQ plus movement in the United States and signaled a national outcry for equal rights. 52 years later, America is experiencing a cultural shift towards a more inclusive nation. A few days from now will be the 6th anniversary of Obergefell versus Hodges, where it was solidified that the fundamental right to marry was guaranteed to same-sex couples. You know, I took great pride in that case because I was governor of Iowa, and I appointed a majority of the Supreme Court that in the Varnum case made the decision for the state of Iowa to guarantee the right to marry for same-sex couples. And I think that had a lot to do with the national effort that ultimately resulted in the Hodges case. 1 year ago, the Supreme Court upheld sexual orientation and gender identity discrimination as being sex discrimination under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. While significant, these are just a few of the many milestones in pursuit of civil rights for all of our citizens who have been marginalized throughout our history. This is progress in action, and we've come far from the days of Lavender Scare, where LGBTQ plus federal employees were fired or investigated, and when LGBTQ plus communities were treated shamefully, without compassion or any understanding. Many people had to hide their own identities within the walls of federal offices, including here, tragically, at USDA. In 1993, USDA added sexual orientation non-discrimination protections, and in 2011, I was proud to add gender identity and expression to USDA's non-discrimination protections. My expectation of all employees is that they come to work on behalf of all Americans and that we treat them all with the respect that they've earned. We believe the LGBTQ plus community is central to our efforts to build an equitable USDA, and this month, and for that matter every day, we should value the contributions of our LGBTQ plus employees. This month, USDA embraces the spirit of these LGBTQ plus luminaries who were brave enough to stand up and say, "This is who I am." As we own our own identities without fear and without judgment, let us not judge others, but admire them for their accomplishments, what they bring to the USDA, to our country and the world. I hope you all enjoy this important month where we acknowledge the work of our brothers and sisters in the LGBTQ plus community. Happy Pride Month.
Hello, I'm Monica Range, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights. June marks Pride Month, a celebration of achievements and resiliency of the LGBTQ plus community around the world. Pride Month is a reminder that every person should be treated with respect and dignity and should be able to live without fear, violence, and discrimination. As civil rights professionals, we can also celebrate June as the first anniversary of the Supreme Court's landmark decision in Bostock versus Clayton County, which affirmed, as the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission had held several years earlier, that Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits employment discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. I am excited to report that OASCR is leading cross-departmental work on President Biden's executive order on preventing and combating discrimination on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation. At the Department of Agriculture, we are recommitting ourselves to the values of equity and inclusion rooted in justice and equal opportunity for each other and those we serve. We believe LGBTQ plus communities are central to our efforts to build an equitable USDA. The theme of USDA's 2021 Pride Observance is Progress in Action. It speaks to the momentum to advance LGBTQ plus inclusion while recognizing that progress only comes as a result of our actions. By deeply integrating equity in all hiring, decision-making, policy-making, and more, USDA is committed to removing barriers and building a workforce more representative of America. As an ally to the LGBTQ plus community, USDA will work towards serving, celebrating, and lifting up LGBTQ plus people through our programs and efforts to create a healthier food system and economically vibrant rural America. To demonstrate our support and pride in being a strong partner of LGBTQ plus communities, you have probably seen the rainbow flag on the Witten Building and other federal buildings in Washington, D.C. Please join me in celebrating Pride Month. Thank you.
Thanks to Secretary Vilsack and Deputy Assistant Secretary Range for those timely messages and for all your work to make USDA a leader in LGBTQ plus inclusion and equity in the federal workforce and for the public we serve. Hi y'all, I'm Jeremy Wood and I use he, him pronouns. I'm a diversity and inclusion specialist with the APHIS Office of Civil Rights, Diversity and Inclusion. Shout out to my amazing team. I also serve as the Communications Director for Equality USDA. I have the honor at this time to introduce to you a special message from NRCS employee Melissa Sturdivant of the Choctaw Nation.
Halito, Chimechukma Chasia. Hello. I hope you're all doing well. I am Choctaw and my name is Melissa Sturdivant. My pronouns are she, her, and Emmy. I work as a soil conservationist and as a state tribal liaison for the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service in Texas. I am honored to be with you here today as we bring our communities together and celebrate this virtual Pride observance. But before we begin, please join me as we pause and as we reflect and give thanks for the ancestral caretakers of our Mother Earth. I join you from my home in Central Texas, and I want to thank the Comanche and the Kickapoo as our ancestral caretakers of this place that I call home. Who were the ancestral caretakers of where you call home? If you don't know, I would encourage you to seek out that information and discover the people that occupied that land before you and I did. You know, as we are caretakers of today, we have a huge responsibility to care for the land, but not just the land, we need to care for all of our people. And it's not just for today in our Indigenous communities, we see ourselves as caretakers for the next 7 generations. So each of us has a role and each of us has a way that we can help. As an ally for the LGBTQ plus community, we really become one USDA. We all have a part and a role to play, and inclusion and equality begins with each of us. Have a blessed day, and thank you for joining in this virtual celebration. Yakoke.
Hello, my name is Tremaine Wilson. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I serve as the National LGBTQ plus Special Emphasis.
Thanks to Melissa for those acknowledgements and the challenge for us all to learn more about our land's ancestral caretakers. As we talk about this year's theme of progress and action, we want to make sure we take the opportunity to not only highlight the great things that are happening right now or in the last few years. We recognize in order to appreciate how far we've come, we have to reflect on where we started. In that spirit, we've taken this special opportunity to do just that with my guests who were there when today's progress was tomorrow's potential. I'd like to introduce to you all Sharon Nance, the Assistant State Conservationist for Field Operations at NRCS in California. Sharon began her career with NRCS in California as the State Rural Sociologist 26 years ago. Also with us today is Roseanne Luvisi, Program Specialist for FNS's Northeast Regional Office in Boston, Massachusetts. She began her federal employment in 1986 and has been with USDA for the past 21 years. Thanks for joining us today. Sharon and Roseanne, we're really grateful to have you and for you to take this time to chat and share your stories and perspectives. I'd like to give you both a minute to say a couple words to start if you'd like.
Thank you. I really am excited about this opportunity. I think that when we hear the word history, we think of it as years and years gone by. And part of what I hope that we can communicate today is that this is all part of a very recent past, and it is due to the efforts and work of many dedicated people. And we just want to kind of touch on a few of those moments and help you come to know a few of those people. Thanks for the opportunity.
Roseanne?
Thanks, Jeremy. And again, this is a great opportunity. I remember when I started my federal employment back in the Fish and Wildlife Service, I was not out at work because quite frankly, I had been disinvited from a family holiday event because my full self and my partner were not invited. And I'm happy to say that has evolved. But showing up on the job, I just could not deal with any more harshness. And thinking about where we've come in history, when I moved to HHS, I really took to heart the mantra of the time, silence equals death, because quite literally, the silence and the aversion around the surrounding the beginnings of the HIV epidemic meant literal death for so many of our community members. And when I took that job and I showed up, I chose not to show up as a silent fraction of a person. And that was in 1992. And Sharon and I were recollecting, I remember in 93, I think, I know in HHS, a non-discrimination statement came out and it included sexual orientation. And it was just very encouraging and heartening. And then when I went to USDA in 2000, a few years later, in 2005, there was a vacancy for FNS to be on that GLIAC. And I did up my whole government resume with 5 pages of knowledge, skills, and abilities essays, why I was, a perfect fit for this collateral duty. And it went through my cover memo went through 3 levels of approval in the regional office. And it was really institutionalizing that we exist as part of human resources, and it meant a lot. And, I was assigned that collateral duty. And that's when I came down to DC. I met you, Sharon, and all the council members for that June USDA Gay Pride celebration. And it's just to think of what the journey of since I started, since I, took my oath to protect and defend the Constitution, has just been an amazing ride.
Thanks so much, Roseanne, for telling us how you got involved. So now, Sharon, I'm going to take you way back. The impetus for a lot of the work that's been done in the LGBTQ plus arena here at USDA started with that Gay and Lesbian Employee Advisory Council, or GLIAC. Correct. You were, as Lin-Manuel Miranda likes to put it in Hamilton, in the room where it happened. So tell us how GLIAC became a reality and how you became involved.
Oh, thank you. I feel like I need to climb into, what is it, the Wayback Machine, for those of us who remember Mr. Peabody. In 19, after Globe was started in 1994, which was the Gay Lesbian Employees Organization within USDA. Under the Clinton administration, each one of the special interests, meaning the Hispanic employees, the Asian employees, the women, were able to organize an advisory council that then came together under the Secretary, Civil Rights Secretary, to advise them. For some reason, the gay and lesbian employees were not included initially. However, over the next couple of years, that changed, and GLEAC was born, Gay Lesbian Employees Advisory Council. So we had giving us a seat on this broader USDA council. But as far as the GLEAC body itself, it was then made up of 2 representatives from each one of the mission areas. After holding the first couple meetings, I love to tell the story that they came to NRCS and they asked for a representative from NRCS to join the council. And the then director of civil rights came to the meeting and told the council that he would have to regrettably say that since there were no gays or lesbians in NRCS, that unfortunately there wouldn't be anybody to serve on the council. So it was that next month that I got a call from this voice in Washington that said, "Sharon, you gotta come on, you gotta come, can you come?" And I went, "Come where, do what?" You know, they're talking about Washington and I'm in California. So long story short, I met with our state leadership, and his only question was, "Sharon, I didn't know that you were out." And I went, "Sir, I never was in. So you know, I'm okay if, you know, you guys will support the time and the cost to do so." So going to, I guess the concept I want to close on just my initial involvement with GLEAC was, it was an unbelievably energizing feeling to be able to sit in that room with other gays and lesbians from across USDA who had their own unique experiences that brought them to that moment. But for us to sit there and just have that collective energy for the very first time in our professional careers was something that that became the energizing experience, the energizing factor that kept us moving through some really crazy years. But it was that coming together and feeding off of one another that was just unique. I cannot even begin to describe our council meetings. They were, I didn't appreciate at the time how special they are, but trust me, I do now.
Yeah, I really can only imagine how exciting it had to be for you to be in on the ground floor of an effort like that. For both of you now, just give us a little bit about how, you know, each of you experienced GLEAC. Sharon, you gave us a couple little examples. Roseanne, if you will, just give us your stories. We want to hear, you know, the roses and the thorns.
Well, I want to add on to what you said, Sharon. That kind of energy, I can't find a word for it, but it was palpable and it was great. And it builds on like what I felt my role was as part of GLEAC. I felt like I was there to actively transform USDA into really a workplace of belonging for all employees, not just the LGBT community, for everyone. And what I've observed, you know, in my lifetime is that when you take a people and summarily shove them into the margin and dehumanize them, you know, oftentimes if you're that person shoved over, you plumb into your depths and find out, who am I? What are my values? And this is happening while physical and psychic violence is happening. And in the midst of that swirl of pain, out of that, of course, comes resilience, but there is this wild creativity and joy. And those are the kind of people you want in the workplace for that indescribable energy. That's what you want to bring vantage points to all parts of the workplace. and so that was my role in my of why I was on GLIAC. But in a bureaucratic sense, I would meet with the FNS administrator every June and tick off all the reports so that he could report up on the strategic plan, what FNS was doing for civil rights and human resources to move the agency along. So there were those, and I have to say, on our time in GLIAC, two of, I think, the most important tasks that we did was sit down with OGC to include gender identity and expression as protected classes in the employee non-discrimination statement, and also getting OGC and rewriting that departmental regulation to entrench us as an official special emphasis program, so that we could be protected from some future secretarial whim to abolish the LGBT group. And I learned so much about really entrenching ourselves and the importance of the institutionalization of all employee rights.
Yeah, I really have to say, oh, I'm sorry, Sharon, but I really just have to say that that's the feeling that we're getting today. So it's really cool to hear the same thing can repeat itself, even though we've been constantly making progress. When things happen like the picture behind both of you and that pride flag is raised at the Witten building, like that's that palpable. We were all in different parts of the country at the time, but there was a tear in all of our eyes.
Yes.
So that's it's so cool to hear that it's cyclical, and hopefully other people can enjoy that same deal. Sharon?
Yeah. Sorry. So many things come to mind. One of the important points that allowed us to have the audience with OGC and to have the audience within the Office of Secretary of Civil Rights was we had to go out and get information. And one of the things we did as a GLIAC council is we created listening sessions, and we went out across the country. We went to Atlanta, we went to Portland, we went to Kansas, we went all over the country, and we set up sessions to sit and listen to LGBT employees talk about their experiences. Now, let me be clear about what happened. We ended up having Federal Protective Service take down our posters so that folks did not know when we were coming in. We had individuals who would stand outside in the hallway of where we were meeting and take down the names of the people that came in the room so that supervisors could be apprised of who was participating. And to that event, we ended up having to have evening meetings off-site so that we could actually hear from the local employees about their experiences. So as we gathered this information, we then used it to start to create our training programs that we then extended to civil rights groups and to the leadership of the various agencies. But it was this combination of trying to collect the information that had never been collected firsthand from our community to be combined to inform what was needed, what had to be then the next steps. I'll just give you one other quick example, and that the picture of these flags is just so important. One year we had invited the representative from the log cabin group to come be our Pride speaker. And we were informed that we had to bring this individual in through the Witten building instead of just being able to check him in at the South Ag. So during the time that that individual was being escorted from the Witten building down through the third wing tunnel to come up to Jefferson Auditorium, all of a sudden there was a need to have a shelter in place. Both the doors on either side of the tunnel of the third wing closed, and our speaker and our escort were detained in the tunnel during the time that this individual was supposed to be on stage for our Pride program. So we've had all kinds of coincidental kinds of events that have happened in the coordination of our effort over the years. But trust me, Roseanne can tell you, with the group that we had together, they were not to be deterred.
Yeah, I like to think that we took your example there and ran with it.
Indeed.
So let's move now, onto today and connect everything. Connect it all for me. Like, connect to what and where you are today. Like all the work that you did in that time period.
Well, Jeremy, the way I'm thinking of it, here it is June, and we take June to mark the anniversary of the uprising at the Stonewall Inn down in New York. And in that spirit, let me invoke the name Marsha P. Johnson, and let me invoke the name Sylvia Rivera, and two courageous transgender women of color who sparked that rebellion. And in honor of that, and let's party, let's dance, let's sing, and let's really collect ourselves and like mother bears, let's fiercely fight for our non-binary siblings, for our trans brothers and our trans sisters who are constantly under violence, but now especially so with harmful laws cropping up to ban youngsters from sports and working with healthcare providers. And so let's celebrate, but let's also keep fighting for justice. And that's what I'm seeing and feeling right now.
Thanks, Roseanne, because what I hear in that is our continued challenge is to pass on the possibilities.
Yes.
Because for us, they weren't even possibilities. Mm-hmm. We actually had to write the script before it could be read, much less performed. And the energy that we were able to put into that, because we could be our full and authentic selves,
yes.
was powerful. And that's what I see my role at this time is to continue to talk about that personal power, that personal power that comes from the layering of all of those identities that make us who we are, that they are not subtractive, but they're additive.
Yes.
And there is so much strength in all of that coming together, of all of us coming together, that the setbacks that we see happen on a day-to-day basis are temporary. They are but speed bumps, because we have come way too far in a relatively short period of time. I mean, we all know that there are employees that we work with all the time that have been here 30 and 40 years. And what we're talking about as having happened within our community has happened in a period of less than their career. I mean, when I think of the possibilities for those young LGBTQ plus folks coming into our workforce, my brain can't even go there. I can't even get there, because they are still yet to create what's possible. And if all I can do is just say, yes, it's possible, because we're still here, we're still queer, and you can make it better for folks who are yet to come.
Wow. Yeah, that really encapsulates everything. I really have to thank you both so much for sharing this important history and your experiences. A lot of what you just said kind of covers this, but if you can, in a nutshell, before I let you go, I have to ask you, what does our Pride Month theme this year, Progress in Action, mean or look like to you as some of our community who have been involved through a lot of the LGBTQ plus timeline here at USDA and have passed off the torch?
Well, I would say like celebrate and at the same time fight.
Progress means going forward. You're at a point, and there are future points down the road on this journey that are still yet to come. And that's what we're on. We're on a journey. And I love the fact that, we've opened arms and just asked everyone to come join.
All right. Thank you again so much, Sharon. It is always such a wonderful experience when I get to interact with you. I treasure those opportunities. Roseanne, it's been amazing getting the opportunity to know you. I hope we get to know each other better in the future. And I really want to thank you all just one last time for spending your time with us today so that we can present this at our observance and just give everybody an idea of where we've been, where we're going, and where we are right now. So once more, thanks so much. Hope you all have a wonderful afternoon and the rest of your Pride is fantastic.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jeremy.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Roseanne. Thanks,
Thanks,
Jeremy.
Sharon.
All right.
Program Manager for the National Agricultural Statistics Service, our NASS. Today, I have the honor of introducing to you our next speaker, Jody McDaniel. Jody is originally from Southern Illinois. He attained his bachelor's and master's in agricultural economics at Southern Illinois University, and later obtained his doctorate in public administration from Walden University. Jody has been part of the NASS family for over 20 years. He has held several different positions within NASS, including being chief of our environmental economic demographics branch. Jody currently serves as Director of Eastern Field Operations. I could truly say that Jody has truly been really supportive of the LGBTQ plus special emphasis program. I mean, if it wasn't for serving as a mentor at one of our flash mentoring events, we had a few observances to go, to actually speaking with you all today. So everyone, it is a pleasure for me to introduce to you Mr. Jody McDaniel.
Hi, my name is Jody McDaniel, and my pronouns are he, him, and his. After 20 years in federal service, I'm fortunate to have joined the ranks of senior executive service. Today, I serve as the Director of Eastern Field Operations for the USDA's National Agricultural Statistics Service. This is a goal open to all people and one that is attainable with focus and dedication to providing service to the American public that we all serve. The journey hasn't been without challenges, and it hasn't been made alone. I'm appreciative of the generations of LGBTQ plus individuals that have fought for our place today in the workplace and country at large. We're allowed to serve openly because of the challenges they've each faced. These range from the lavender scare to the less focused discriminatory actions and behaviors of times gone by. I'm proud to be an openly gay man, married and father of 2 exceptional children. Both my husband and I are members of the federal community. This has allowed me to peer into other federal agencies and see the struggles that are omnipresent in our workplaces. We are fortunate to be supported by an amazing Secretary of Agriculture and leadership team here at the USDA. I truly believe Secretary Vilsack values integrity in our department and in the programs we deliver to the farming and ranching community at large. Today, I'd like to offer perspective into my own personal journey. I remember the day I called my father, a 3rd-generation farmer from the Midwest, to tell him I was marrying my husband. The next year was challenging. I actually lost the strongest man in my life as he came to grips that his only son was someone he didn't know, nor did he understand. You see, I had chosen to live my life very segmented and not openly acknowledge my own journey to my work community or my family. Over the next year, I was not only supported by my husband and lifelong friends, but also from the community and my agency. A strong man and woman that happened to be my work parents stood with me and helped me to prepare to face my colleagues and my family. You see, this wasn't their journey, but they were there to support me as the network I needed. He was the first openly gay LGBTQ plus leader in my agency, and she is a strong ally. Today, I want to highlight the impact they've each had in my journey to where I am today. As many of you know, the emotional struggle and self-doubt that we each face as we show the world our true selves can be daunting. You see, this past year, I lost my father, and in his last days, he shared that he had 2 sons. You see, he had grown to see that my husband made me a better man and loved him as his own. I encourage each of you to reflect on your own journey and provide the support you needed to another member of our community. We are all unique, and our journeys and struggles are our own. I believe we all value the principles of equity and inclusion. Those values drive each of us to make sure our daily work is meaningful to all people. So stand proud, speak your truth, and realize that we each have our own journey. I'd like to thank all members of our community. Together with our allies, we are prepared to face our journey and our challenges. Let's stand together and make the USDA not only the People's Department, but the pinnacle of diversity and inclusion for the federal sector. This is progress in action.
Hi, I'm Kevin Hunt, a geographer with USDA NASS. Progress takes leadership. This is progress in action. Happy Pride.
We are Progress in Action.
Hi, my name is Derek Thorcary, DEREK-THORCARY. I'm a program analyst at the Agricultural Research Service in Beltsville, Maryland. Today I'd like to say, this is Progress in Action in German. Und so sieht Fortschritt aus.
This is Progress in Action.
Hey everybody, my name is Michael Rumbaugh, and I am the Planning Staff Officer on the Lake Tahoe Basin Management Unit in beautiful South Lake Tahoe. I work for the Forest Service, and I am really happy for Pride this year. I'm a gay man, and I am progress in action. Happy Pride, everybody. Take care.
Hi, I'm Jeff Hayes, and I am Progress in Action.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Kimberly Kelly. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I proudly serve as the Vice President for Equality USDA. I work for the Food Safety and Inspection Service as a Senior Training and Program Analysis Specialist. And this year, I will be celebrating 12 years with USDA, which is very exciting for me. But over, these 12 years, I have been able to see a lot of the progress in action here at USDA as it relates to LGBTQ plus equality and inclusion, which obviously warms my heart, right? And today we're going to be talking about a lot of those huge major milestones that we've seen. But what also we're going to be talking about today is the progress and how we're going to move forward and what that's going to look like. And what better way to know what to expect in the future than to hear from our youth. And so today I have the distinct honor of introducing the Gender Cool Project. And the Gender Cool Project, they support transgender, non-binary youth, and they go out and they educate people on how to better understand the challenges, how to better understand what they need and what they want, and just the goals that they have. So we're gonna hear from 2 of their founders, Jen Holt Grosshandler and Gira Goldstein. And Gira is going to be introducing one of the youth champions, and her name is Evie. And what I really loved about listening to all 3 of them is they all 3 have a personal connection with USDA, which is really great. And so we're going to hear from them. It is my great honor to introduce them. And I hope that you learn a lot, that we learn a lot, because USDA is going to be hiring this youth. Eventually, we're going to be welcoming this youth. So what better way to learn what we need to be prepared for? So I hope you all enjoy, and thank you so much for attending today.
Hello, everyone at USDA. I'm Jen Grosshandler. My pronouns are she, her.
Hi, and I'm Gira Goldstein. I use she, her pronouns.
We are the founders of the Gender Cool Project, and we are super psyched to be here with you today. So a couple cool things that we wanted to mention at first. I have both a personal and professional connection to y'all. So I've had the good fortune to work with you all and represent some of your most important programming, including 3 a Day, and also the amazing work that you did in collaboration with so many other partners around Fuel Up to Play 60. So John and I, my husband, we live here in Chicago, and we are the parents of 4 kids. We have 3 sons, and then our daughter, our youngest. Her name is Chazzy. She's 15. She is proud to be transgender, and we are so proud to be her parents. And the experience that John and I have had, and our full family has had with Chazzy, raising her, has been so positive, so powerful, that we knew we needed to get involved on a national level in the conversation to help people understand how cool, how smart, how talented, how resourceful transgender and non-binary kiddos are. And so here's the deal. All right. It's hard to pick up your phone, take a look at the news on a daily basis without seeing kind of a continued onslaught of negative, inaccurate information around the transgender and non-binary community, with a particular focus these days targeting transgender and non-binary kiddos. And the deal is, y'all, and the truth is that this is the polar opposite to the experience that hundreds of thousands of transgender and non-binary kiddos are having across the country, in every corner of this country, being raised by thoughtful parents. And so I knew that something had to be done. I had an idea, but I knew in order to do this that I needed the right partner and the right mentor. And I found that in Gara Goldstein.
Thank you, Jen. Such a cool background story. Just a little bit about me. I've been married 28 years. I have 2 amazing kids, and I'm actually transgender as well. And if you can imagine a person who is transgender, the parent of 2 kids, married, teaming up with the parents of a transgender child, we have a very wide breadth of experience on this topic. And working with you today, the USDA, truly warms my heart. It's kind of full circle for me as a young person. The USDA, the food program, was an integral part of my life and the community that I lived in. There were many of my friends that their only meal was the meal at school. And I vividly remember, as we're approaching a weekend right now, every Friday, the lunch lady, knowing who those children were and making sure they had food for the weekend, it was and still is one of the most powerful memories. So thank you all for the work that you do for everyone in this country. And I'm going to send it back to Jen to explain a little bit more about GenderCool.
So it's a really simple idea, right? Sometimes the simplest ideas are the most powerful, we find out, right? So here's the idea. The idea was that we would create a storytelling campaign. We called it the Gender Cool Project. It started out as a positive, youth-led, youth-inspired storytelling campaign that's now become a real movement, y'all. The mission is very simple. Help replace misinformed opinions with positive, powerful experiences, actually meeting transgender and non-binary young people who are thriving. So we've got 18 young people. We call them our champions, and they are leading this conversation and changing hearts and minds across this country. They all got together and we created some really cool content, and the thing launched about 3.5 years ago, and everything went boom. And I think better than having me or even Gara tell you what happened and what the impact was or what it looked like, we're going to do something different. we are going to show y'all a new video that will communicate the power and impact of the Gender Cool Project. And then after the video, Gara's going to come back on and she's going to have a super cool conversation with one of our most beloved champions named Evie. So thanks so much, and we hope you enjoy this.
My name is Daniel.
My name is Della.
My name is Kai.
My name is Bobby. My name is Nicole. And I'm proudly identified as transgender.
3 years ago, I set out to find kids like me. Kids who felt loved and supported by their family and friends.
We just are so proud of everything you've done up to this point and excited for what's ahead.
I'm me because I'm surrounded by people who love and accept me.
Because I'm loved and supported by my family, friends, and community.
I am able to grow up living life to the fullest.
Yeah, Max! Woohoo! Good job! I feel just so happy. We're future Olympians,
CEOs, actors,
Filmmakers.
and so much more.
We knew that if people could just get to know us, we could create a world where people are known for who we are, not what we are.
And guess what?
And guess what?
And guess what?
And guess what? The most amazing thing happened.
People started to listen.
This Gender Cool community is providing leadership, role models, and showing the world how to live as better people.
We are singers, photographers, athletes, politicians, musicians, and that's what makes us beautiful.
As the word spread, we got to partner with visionary companies
to help build workplaces that are transformative.
We are paving the way for the next gen workforce. We are speaking out, singing songs,
Writing books,
being regular kids.
We are Gender Cool.
and we are changing the world.
Hi, everyone. As I had said, here is Evie, a great friend of mine, and I'd like to introduce her to you today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Evie, and my pronouns are she, her, and I'm 13 years old.
Awesome. Thank you, Evie. And thanks for joining us. I'm so excited to talk with you again today. It's been a long time since I've seen you. I wanted to ask you a question, if you could share with our friends here at USDA about your experiences when you were younger than you are now, about when you were thinking about who you are and how you come or came to live who you are today.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to answer that, Gira.
Thanks.
I would really say it is an evolution of, even if I'm not trans, even if I'm cis, and even if I'm somebody else, life and growing is always a progression and an evolution. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. I found myself, and it wasn't really about finding myself. It was, I would say, more about finding, I guess perhaps maybe myself is the right way to put it, but it's really just about learning and educating yourself about yourself, unlocking your memories, your future, and that really just morphs you into who you are now. Yeah.
How old were you when you started to understand about your identity?
I think, usually I would say I was maybe 6 or 7 that I started to understand. But then as I'm more mature, I realized that it wasn't really back then. I mean, I wouldn't say it was my identity I was realizing. I guess it was just pieces of it, like being feminine in general, but not being a girl or being a woman. It was just, sparkly dresses and tutus, and that was just a small piece of it that slowly, I started to find all the other pieces of the plate, I guess you could say. But I would say most likely when I was around 9 or 10 or like 8, maybe around that range, is really when the pieces all started to come together, and I finally got that full puzzle, that full image. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And I know that, like you're saying about how things evolve, how people talk. And I've known you for several years, and, watching you grow and speak differently about your life experiences as a young transgender person. I'm so incredibly impressed that one of the things that is so interesting is that the fact of being transgender is really the least interesting thing about you. And so with that, I'm wondering, what are your passions? What are some of the things that you're into nowadays? Like, what are you doing for fun?
So this is something that it's the question that I always dreaded when I was at these kind of events. And it's not because I dreaded it like I didn't want to talk about what I was interested in, but it was more about the fact that I feel like because of media, whether it be books, shows, movies, news, whatever, mainly fictional media, is that people feel like you just have this one goal, this one hobby, and that's, your facet to a character. Because if you're writing a show or a movie or a book, you can't have your character be into something and something else, because then, takes away from whatever the main goal of that story is. But, I would always say it's just changing. One day it's entomology, the other day it's marine biology, the next day it's acting, reading. Like right now behind me, I have my TV, which this morning I was watching a video about this one guy who wrote this book about mycology, which is the study of fungi and mushrooms. But it's always changing, and I feel like when you ask somebody about their hobby, you really have to take into account how that person has changed and what they're doing in their life. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. We're going to keep it pretty short today. I wanted to ask you one last question here. For the folks at the USDA, what is something that you would like to say to them? And really, it can be whatever comes to mind.
I just want to first start off with a thank you to the USDA, because, they've been there for, I don't know how long you guys have been there for, but for a pretty long time. My mom ate from the USDA, and I'm sure my grandmother did as well. And it's really always been about keeping the plates and the bowls and the spoons and the forks and, the boxes of the Americans safe. They're always thinking about what we're eating, and they're thinking about what we're putting into our bodies. And what we put into our bodies is what changes and curves our mind. And, if it weren't for the USDA, I probably wouldn't be eating as healthy. And if I wasn't eating as healthy, our brains can't grow. So I guess I have the USDA to thank for, being able to be here and being able to speak. So thank you guys. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Evie. I, again, really appreciate you being here today with us. And again, to the USDA, thank you for having us here today, and have a great day. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi, everyone. Me again. I hope that you enjoyed that message from our friends at the Gender Cool Project. From the very first time we saw the Gender Cool's champions speak, we were blown away by the power of their positive message and the incredible stories of these trans youth that are thriving despite the sometimes monumental obstacles laid in their paths. I have another distinct honor today, and that is in introducing our next speaker. Ashley Davis is a Vice President and Senior Diversity and Inclusion Manager within the Diversity and Inclusion team at AllianceBernstein. She is responsible for expanding and leading AB's diversity and inclusion strategy in Nashville and San Antonio, assessing and cultivating key community partnerships, designing and delivering development programs, and partnering with AB's senior executives to implement effective and measurable action plans. Most recently, Davis held the role of Global Lead for External Affairs and Strategic Partnerships within the Global Inclusion and Diversity team at Cargill. Prior to that, she served for more than 6 years in the Obama administration, both within the White House and as a presidential political appointee right here at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, where her roles included White House liaison and senior advisor to the Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights. Ashley holds a BA in Politics and Philosophy from the University of Pittsburgh and a JD from the Howard University School of Law. Her civic engagement includes serving on Nashville's Community Oversight Board, the board of the University of Pittsburgh's Alumni Association, and Colorado State University's Corporate Diversity Advisory Council. Most importantly to us personally at Equality USDA, Ashley has been a steadfast supporter, mentor, ally, and friend. Her enthusiasm for championing LGBTQ+ equality in the workplace at USDA and extraordinary work in the creation and execution of the historic LGBTQ+ Rural Summits held during her and Secretary Vilsack's previous tenure continue to be a big motivator for the work we've continued at USDA. I truly could never fanboy enough, but without further ado, my friend Ashley Davis.
Hello everyone, and happy Pride. My name is Ashley Davis, and I am a proud USDA alum. In fact, I'm confident that no matter where God allows me to serve in my life, my time serving at the U.S. Department of Agriculture will continue to be one of the highlights of my life, which is why my time and my opportunity right now to share a message during your Pride observance is such an honor. To Secretary Vilsack, to Deputy Secretary Brunel, the esteemed leadership of the USDA, including Equality USDA, led by President Megan Walter, I thank you all for the invitation and wish you all a happy Pride. This year's theme of progress in action is a beautiful one, and one that I would love to open up and share with you so that you can share a message of pride that activates the ones around you to love and support the beautiful tapestry of the LGBTQIA family. Progress requires movement, but movement with no direction is futile. And movement without the entire family is no real progress at all. And as a community, we realize that when we've left the most marginalized of our community out, we've done nothing but broken trust. And I'm reminded of something a dear friend and mentor reminded me of, that trust is lost in buckets and earned in drops. Our trans brothers and sisters deserve and need our visible and vocal support and allyship, the kind that is proactive, not reactive, the kind of support that keeps the 28 deaths that have occurred just this year alone from never seeing the light of day. As our trans children find themselves targeted for who they are, we must love them even harder than they've ever been loved before and show them that they are beautifully perfect in every single way. Love like that is positive in meaningful progress. And let me pause and explain what I mean by allyship, because there's a lot of conversation lately about allyship, allies, and what that means, especially in the month of June. For me, allyship must be a verb before it can ever be a noun, meaning you must be able to point to or articulate what you are doing or what you have done before you can ever claim who you are. Therefore, there's no way you can tell me that you are an ally of mine or of a group if you can't say what you are doing or what you have done for that same group. And so for those of you who maybe are not a member of the LGBTQIA community, but rather are allies, ask yourself, how are you showing up for this group? How are you showing up for our community? What are you putting on the line? And not just simply by sending a text, sending $5, but how are you standing up in a moment when a bad and inappropriate joke is told at the dinner table? What friend are you willing to lose if they are standing up and saying something harmful or abusive? That's real allyship. But conversely, if you're unwilling to stand up in a moment and be bold and step back and say something in that moment, if you're unwilling to do that, then in trueness, you're actually not a real ally. You're actually just performative. That's performative allyship. And to be honest with you, we've got enough of that. We don't need that. And the same rings true whether we're talking about trans rights, gender rights, social justice, racial justice. Performative allyship does nothing for real progress. Following progress in action, when we talk about progress, we're really talking also about action. And for this, I want you to all to think about having purposeful and meaningful action. In the last year, so much has happened to cause all of us to re-examine who we are, and quite frankly, also who we want to be. And we shouldn't be afraid to be honest about how pivotal this moment is for all of us. Whether you are a member or an ally of the community, it is imperative that we realize that we are here in this moment for a reason. Now, when I say that, I don't intend to come off as a Hallmark card. My intent here is to impress upon all of us that we have an opportunity to do something differently. This isn't just about gay rights or trans rights, as important as those are. This is also about the intersection of race, gender, disability, veterans' rights, and so much more, because the truth is that for far too long, we have allowed the diversity within the LGBT community to be silenced and seemingly invisible to all. And it's imperative that they be brought to the forefront of this space. That's real progress in action. Diversity is a fact. Inclusion is a choice. And inclusion requires intentionality. In this pride, I encourage us, all of us, to make a conscious choice to broaden pride to include a larger slice of the LGBT community. Slices of the pie that usually go underappreciated and unrecognized. USDA is properly named the People's Department because it seeks to serve and represent the people without consideration of background, sexual orientation, gender expression, or gender identity. Secretary Vilsack led us in his last tenure as secretary of this department to ensure that those very protections were in place. That's what makes this department so incredibly unique, so incredibly purposeful in a year when people are in need like they have never been in need before. To meet the needs of the times that we are in, it takes working together and embracing one another with respect and full inclusion. I thank you all for what you will do and what you have done every single day to make the culture of USDA more inclusive. And I recognize that there may be those in your midst and around you outside the walls of the department that don't truly recognize the value of your efforts. But just know that you have the full support of thousands across the country and beyond. Wishing you all an amazing Pride and lots of love and support and allyship. From my home here in Nashville, Tennessee, happy Pride, everyone. Happy Pride. Take care.
Hello, my name is Lauren Wesson, Senior Equal Opportunity Specialist at the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights, and I have the pleasure of introducing our next speaker, Debbie Jackson. Debbie Jackson, founder of Gender Inc., is a nationally known advocate for transgender rights. She is the mother of a transgender child and frequently travels to speak about trans kids. Debbie Jackson first took the world by storm in 2014 when her speech about her daughter's transition at the age of 4 went viral. The self-described conservative Southern Baptist Republican from Alabama now speaks on behalf of transgender children and their families around the world. Through her advocacy, she works with esteemed organizations such as PFLAG, the Human Rights Campaign, Gender Odyssey, and the Trevor Project. Her involvement with these organizations, as well as her personal connection to several thousand transgender adults and families with transgender children, has enhanced her knowledge and understanding of trans inclusivity, needs, and solutions. Debbie is one of the first parents to speak out in a very public way in support of a transgender child. Even though her personal story is compelling, she doesn't expect people to form opinions based on their heart alone. She appeals to logic and reasoning. In order to advocate for her daughter and now all transgender children, she has amassed a huge amount of data that can help destigmatize transgender people in society. Well, without further ado, Debbie Jackson.
Hello, my name is Debbie Jackson. My pronouns are she, her, hers. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your Pride celebration. I'm so excited to be here with you, and I'm especially thrilled that you have chosen the theme Progress in Action. We definitely need to see some positive progress made, and there are so many amazing, strong voices out there who are helping lead that action right now, and I am thankful to be here celebrating all of that with you. As a brief introduction to why I'm here speaking, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my family. Everything started for us about a decade ago. That's when one of my two children, who were assigned male at birth, started showing some gender nonconforming behavior. And really all that means is that she was breaking some of the gender rules that adults had made for kids like her. She was playing with different toys. She was putting on different clothes during dress-up time and acting in ways that people didn't expect a little boy to act. But that's just part of normal childhood and growing up and experimenting and discovering all about the world. So it wasn't something that we really put a lot of thought into. We thought it's a phase and she'll figure out who she is and what she's interested in and move on. But that didn't really happen, and instead she started growing more depressed and sullen and anxious, and she started acting out again at daycare, kicking and biting and things that at 3 and 4 she should have long since outgrown. What we realized at the time, or what we realized in hindsight, is that she was starting to connect more with the girls in her class, but she wasn't really being allowed to show that with anyone. And she was frustrated because no one was really seeing her and understanding who she was. We are really, really thankful and lucky as a family that then at the age of 4, she told us very directly one day, "Mom, you think that I'm a boy, but I'm a girl on the inside." So many families with trans kids like ours do not get such a direct message. It was a blessing in disguise. So we took her to see our pediatrician and ask, because we had no idea what we were seeing. We then took, at the pediatrician's advice, we took her to see a gender therapist and a child psychologist. This was so new to us, and a decade ago, there was just not the amount of information and public conversation around transgender kids that there is today. What we were able to see through working with these therapists and the gender therapist in particular is that Avery was making progress in action. She was guiding her own social transition at the time by choosing the clothes to wear and choosing to go by a different name and to ask us to use different pronouns. We were the ones who really had to transition. She was making all of those adjustments on her own when we were still completely in the dark about what was happening. And the best part is, once she socially transitioned, once we acknowledged her as the girl that she is and got those pronouns right and updated her wardrobe and introduced her to the world as our daughter, everything changed. The depression went away. The smile returned. We had a beautiful, blossoming, happy, thriving child in front of us. And for the last few years, it's only gotten better. She has become more confident in who she is, more outspoken about who she is, and making sure that people know to treat people like her, LGBTQ kids, with the respect that they deserve. She has become a more powerful advocate and a more powerful voice than I could ever be. She has literally changed the world. She changed me and made me a better person. But she has changed the world for so many other people through her own visibility and through using her own voice. She is now 14 years old, and she is living the best life that a teenager can live. I mean, 14 is kind of hard for all of us, but she's doing pretty good. And we are so proud of her and that she decided that she wanted to be visible so that she can make a difference and make the world a safer place for other transgender youth.
Happy Pride, everyone. I'm Marcia Bryant. My personal pronouns are she and her. I serve as the Food, Nutrition, and Consumer Services LGBTQ+ Special Emphasis Program Manager. As you know, the theme for USDA's Pride Month observance this year is Progress in Action. To me, there are few spaces that can have as deep an impact on the lives of LGBTQ+ people as the workplace. Incredible progress and support of LGBTQ+ staff in the workplace is evident all across the country. Still, many do not feel comfortable being their authentic self at work. When LGBTQ+ staff feel compelled to stay closeted on the job, everyone loses. Each of us will have a different take on what progress in action means. For me, progress in action means bringing all forms of diversity to the table and asking ourselves, whose perspective are we missing? For me, progress in action is USDA's continued commitment to a workplace that goes beyond inclusive policies to truly cultivate a climate of inclusion that not only opens the workplace closet door, but removes it. Our colleagues across USDA have submitted videos sharing what progress in action means to them. So let's take a few moments to watch their videos. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Roten, MICHELLEWROTEN. I am a logistics automotive equipment dispatcher for the U.S. Forest Service on the Tonto National Forest. This year's theme, Progress in Action, it means so much to me because it tells me that even though we've made a lot of change and we've come this far, I know there's still more positive change that can be made. And it's not finished, and I'm really happy and excited to be a part of that change. For me, I personally have found a career that I love, and I have a work family that I love, and I get to live my true self and live authentically every day. So this is my family, Panda and Bailey, and little cats running around as well. And this is my beautiful fiance, the woman I love, Deanna.
Hi.
And I get to share that every day and feel comfortable in that. So that makes me feel fulfilled, and it makes me feel like I can just be comfortable in who I am. So I know not everybody gets to experience that, and for me, progress in action means that I hope one day that that can inspire other people to be able to live that way too.
I'm Jeff Hayes, Community Programs Director and Acting State Director for Arizona. I came out over 20 years ago when folks were a little less accepting, and I was fortunate to have great coworkers, friends, and of course a loving family. And I know many people don't always have that support network. It's through them, though, that I discovered the value in myself, which then, of course, gave me the confidence to step forward in my life and my career. And so my hope for whoever sees this is that you always see your worth and share it with those around you. Best wishes and happy Pride.
Hello, my name is Tina Litwack. That's TAINALITWAK. I'm a scientific illustrator, and I work with the Systematic Entomology Lab, which is part of the Agricultural Research Service. My office is at the Museum of Natural History at Smithsonian Institution. I'm making this video because the effort and consciousness that the USDA puts into action regarding LGBTQI inclusion and equality means a lot to me. I have a 25-year-old trans daughter, and she's the light of my life. I want to share a couple photos of her with her younger brother. One of them, they're showing off their Rainbow Pride socks on Christmas morning. It's not an easy life being different. It can be dangerous, but she works in a place and surrounds herself with people that embrace her and for who she is. And I feel really lucky that my workplace with the USDA is the same. I work with openly gay and lesbian staff members, and I've had trans interns. I wish our whole country could catch up with what I see in the USDA in that progress in action here. Thank you.
I am Joshua Coleman, first name Joshua, last name Coleman. I am State Outreach Coordinator for Farm Service Agency in Texas, and I'm located in College Station, Texas. This is Progress in Action. 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 This is Progress in Action.
Hello, my name is Alexei Schnockenberg, and I'm a program specialist with the Food Nutrition Service based out of the Western Regional Office in San Francisco. And for me, progress in action is being able to be with the person that I love without fear of social stigma, physical violence, criminal prosecution, or discrimination at work. And it's crazy that I even have to say those things, but a generation ago, it was still illegal to be gay. 10 years ago, we still had to fight for marriage equality. And even to this day, we're still seeing outbreaks of violence against LGBTQ individuals. And so for me, progress in action is both recognizing how far we as a nation have come while continuing to strive for the day when we're all regarded by the content of our character and not the person that we love or the gender identity that is appropriate for us.
Hi, I'm Laura White, Senior Trade Advisor at USDA's Foreign Agricultural Service in Washington, D.C. For many LGBTQ+ individuals, fear is a factor. The Lavender Scare institutionalized discrimination against LGBTQ+ individuals that we are still fighting today. I have felt fear wearing my Bi Pride lanyard. In the last few months, that fear has been quieted. I see progress in action at USDA, and I'm proud to say that I'm part of that progress. No matter who you are, you can talk to me about LGBTQ+ issues. Have pride in your identity, have pride in progress, and let's celebrate Pride Month together as we continue to work towards diversity, inclusion, and acceptance.
When I think about progress in action, I think about my career. I think about when I first started over 17 years ago in the Richmond, Virginia field office. How scared I was. I did not bring my true, authentic self into work. I was one person outside of work, but I was someone else on the inside. But it wasn't until I got to know my coworkers within my agency in that field office and throughout all of NAS that I was able to come to terms with myself, that I was able to merge those two different people into one person. And I was finally able to start bringing my true, authentic self to work. And I think about how we progressed over the years, how we have people, not only with NAS, but with all of USDA, now have the courage to actually come to work from day one being their true, authentic selves. And to me, that is truly progress in action. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gabriella Coughlin, she, hers. I'm a soil scientist and conservationist for the Natural Resources Conservation Service located here in Albuquerque, New Mexico on the unceded lands of the Sandia Pueblo. And this year I'm celebrating what progress in action means to me as an openly queer woman of color within the agency and department. I'm helping use my background and experience as a soil scientist to help liberate soils information, to help our historically underserved communities make informed land management decisions that help them reclaim their narratives, cultures, and years of settler colonialism that have been ongoing here in the state of New Mexico. With that, happy Pride.
Hello, brothers and sisters of USDA, Vinlay, Midwest, FNS, Chicago. This year's theme is Progress in Action. To me, progress cannot exist without actions, and actions must be collective in order to be progress. Since the day I started, I have seen great progress through USDA's investment in diversity and inclusion committees to ensure outreach, trainings, and observance, to highlight diversity towards a more inclusive workplace, to employee resource groups, to support and share a space for our employees' voices. This is what makes our 29 agencies and over 100,000 employees strong, which will lead us to continue to cultivate diversity and inclusion from employees all the way to leadership. A synergy of investments and commitments forward to unity and solidarity truly make us the best federal agencies to work for. USDA all the way.
Hello, everyone. I'm Robert Contreras, and I'm the Civil Rights Director for the Food and Nutrition Service. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am honored to give today the closing remarks at this year's USDA LGBTQ+ Pride Month observance. Thank you all for taking the time to join us for this celebration and for your commitment to serve at USDA. While today's observance highlighted some of our achievements and the progress in action today at USDA, we know we must continue to strive towards equity going forward. During FNS's Pride Observance Month, we were presented with some startling statistics. A recent study conducted by the Williams Institute at UCLA School of Law revealed a hard truth about hunger in the LGBTQ+ community. More than 25% of LGBTQ+ adults, which is about 2.2 million people, did not have enough money for food for themselves or for their families at some point in the last year. This is compared to 17% of non-LGBTQ+ adults. Food insecurity is disproportionately higher for racial and ethnic minorities within the LGBTQ+ community and is also higher for the LGBTQ+ women in comparison to LGBTQ+ men. At USDA, we are taking steps to address these kinds of inequities throughout our programs. For example, USDA formed work groups on racial and LGBTQ+ equity and equality and gender policy. Our hope is that every employee at every level of USDA will participate in these work groups and will be part of the progress and action. In the Executive Order on Preventing and Combating Discrimination on the Basis of Gender Identity or Sexual Orientation, President Biden stated, "Every person should be treated with respect and dignity and should be able to live without fear, no matter who they are or whom they love." This has become key to Secretary Vilsack's mission for USDA, and we rise to the challenge of creating a healthier, more equitable food system and economically vibrant America. There is also a lot going on outside of government, and today we had the privilege to hear the experiences from our guest speakers, Jen, Gara, and Evie. Their stories show the positive change that is happening from outside of government, and we need to do everything we can to support and facilitate these local movements to continue the positive change. Our former colleague, Ashley Davis, stressed the importance of active allyship and how assessing and cultivating key community partnerships can lead to implementing effective and measurable action. Debbie Jackson shared her experience as a parent who had to evolve her own understanding of gender identity and expression when her mind and heart were open through the experience with her own child. General positive changes have come slowly. Today, a record majority of Americans support the right of same-sex couples to marry. LGBTQ+ individuals have received long overdue protections in employment, and these protections recently were extended to education under Title IX. I challenge each of us to continue on the journey for LGBTQ+ equality with the passion displayed by all of our speakers today. In closing, on behalf of the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights, thank you to the USDA LGBTQ+ Pride Observance Planning Committee for putting together this incredible group of presenters and content for this program. A special thank you to Equality USDA for their leadership and hard work. Equality USDA is the LGBTQ+ employee resource group at USDA. And of course, thank you to all the special emphasis program managers throughout USDA for continuing this important work every day. Secretary Vilsack and Deputy Assistant Secretary Range, thank you for your inspiring messages. To our guests, Jen, Gara, and Evie of the Gender Cool Project, Debbie Jackson and Ashley Davis, thank you all for sharing your stories with us. And finally, thank you to all the USDA employees we saw in the videos today, and for all of us who work every day to serve the American people. Together, we can make USDA the most diverse, welcoming, and overall best place to work. Happy Pride, everyone.